Odin, a Norse god on his quest for wisdom, willing to sacrifice anything if it means knowing the world's greatest mysteries. The very Odin who, in order to drink from Mimir's well, gouged his own eye out. This tale being a message to followers of Odin, that no sacrifice is too great in the name of knowledge and wisdom. Fuck, that's boring. Let's kill some robots. Robo Recall is a virtual reality FPS by Unreal Tournament, Gears of War and Infinity Blade developers Epic Games exclusively on the Oculus Rift, bundled for those who purchased a pair of Oculus Touch controllers. As viewers of my E3 video will know, I got myself a Rift. Well, to be precise, my brother got a Rift for himself and there's no way I'm buying hardware that pricey with my own money. Touch controllers, room sensors, it was essentially the full Monty, giving us room scale VR just to see what Ben Kuchera was shitting himself over. I'm quite pleasantly surprised with the overall package the Rift offered and the prospect of VR in general, playing bundled games like Lucky's Tale and Dead and Buried, as well as some great stuff off the store like Space Pirate Trainer and Rec Room. I'm at a comfortable and optimistic in between with what I think of VR overall, as I don't see it as a worthless gimmick that stops being fun after an hour, nor do I see it as revolutionary tech of the future that changes how we see and play games. Especially because most VR games are just the stealth return of motion controls, now with the reverse bear trap from Saw. It seems that you guys enjoy when I cover more obscure games, and there's nothing more obscure than something released on niche expensive PC hardware that nobody bought. So what is this game? How does it play, and is its use of VR beneficial? That's what I'm here for as we switch on the projector. So, Robo Recall. After a widespread attack causes all the Tau 9 models in a non-specific city to go rogue, you as the Robo-Ready Recall Specialist Agent 34 are sent to recall as many defective robots as you can and investigate the origin of the virus. The plot is all very silly and time crisis-ish, as this cataclysmic event occurs that only you can resolve, and the game wastes no time getting you straight into the action. Of course, plot isn't the focus, but being a game that requires a VR headset, the most intriguing area is the controls. Similar to other VR games, Robo Recall does not allow direct movement of your character, mostly because that level of visual dissonance will make you a bit fucking ill, so it goes for the teleportation method. By pointing at an area and tilting the thumbstick on either controller, Agent 34 will teleport from place to place. With gunplay, the game utilizes 4 holsters that float around the body at all times, requiring you to reach for them with your touch controllers. These being hip holsters for small sidearms like the pistol or magnum, and back holsters for heavy weapons like shotguns or energy rifles. If you run out of ammunition, you need only throw your existing weapons away and pull new ones out from your holsters once they passed a cooldown period, so you can finally live out your dream of being Reaper. And that's pretty much it. Due to the general stigma of motion controls of the past, this all sounds like a very fiddly process, but motion controls of the past were able to nail 3 things: swords, Pikmin, and guns. So I feel that the Oculus Touch does an amazing job at making this all seamless. Very seamless indeed, unlike my narration files. From concept alone, teleportation being your main form of maneuverability might seem like an immediate red flag to VR, illustrating just how limiting the hardware can be, but in this game it works tremendously well. It's quick, simple, precise, and I never felt like I had to wrestle with the game to go where I want. The visual execution of the slow white flash and the large blue chevron clearly conveys where you're going to teleport and where you'll be facing, and I didn't find it disorienting once I was able to weave around the world efficiently. Equipping weapons from my holsters is an action I can do almost immediately through instinct, as it only relies on my hands being tracked in a certain position and holding a button, and the rumble when I make contact with the holster gives me instant feedback that my hands are in range. Unlike other VR games I've played that rely on these types of controls such as Job Simulator, Virtual Reality, and Surgeon Simulator ER, Robo Recall is immensely fine-tuned so it feels as precise as possible for the faster-paced nature of the game. This level of refinement is apparent in the teleportation too, as I never felt like it was a crutch over standard movement. The way it slows down time and gives you the upper hand in combat feels very fluid and satisfying. After about a session or two, I was able to familiarize myself with Robo Recall's controls. It just became second nature, and there were very rarely any quirks with tracking or the game generally misbehaving. But do these smooth and responsive controls lead to fun gameplay? Abso-bloody-lutely. This game's just so incredibly exhilarating. As a recall specialist, your duty involves going around the city and beating the ever-loving shit out of everything made out of metal. The game takes you en route through different areas as your AI assistant Dolores gives you a series of objectives, such as eliminating all robots in an area, recalling a certain amount within an allotted time, throwing a set amount of robots into a vortex, or defending an EMP relay. The objectives in Robo Recall are similar to an arcade game, with racking up points and collecting microchips to increase your combo. This is then accumulated at the results screen where you can earn stars and level up Agent 34 to unlock upgrades. Upgrades including weapon mods that you equip by physically attaching them to the weapon. It's just the cutest thing. If it's not apparent already, I love the game's combat. Through use of the motion controls, Robo Recall manages to be fresh and addictive through the mechanical freedom the game gives you. For example, you could spend the level spamming dual pistols and wiping everything out, leading to a fair amount of points despite a weak combo. But alternatively, if you were to use melee combat to take out each enemy one by one, your combo will raise significantly higher, with the risk being that your combo drops when you take damage, making it a real eggs-in-one-basket strategy. There's so much more you can do with the combat other than shoot enemies with your set loadout. You can tear robots to pieces, use them as shields, throw bullets, or my personal favourite strat of throwing weapons at robots to not only stagger them for a period of time, but reload any weapons that successfully bounce off. You can even take control of certain robots to use their own abilities against them, like laser drones, rocket launchers, and even a mech mini-boss that when defeated lets you use giant-ass robot arms and a laser cannon. I love this game! It's immensely fun and involved combat that makes you feel like a badass, even though you look like a complete twat in everyone else's eyes. However, you are playing a video game that involves flailing your arms around while having an expensive hair-ruining sweatbox clamped onto your face, hooked up to your equally expensive computer in your reasonably large room, so in fairness, you kinda look like a bit of a twat anyway.
Privilege goggles.
Robo Recall is just extremely campy and self-aware in how dumb it is. Another reason why it's so fun to play, as you're given colourful commentary by your second AI companion, Philip.
Hey buddy, I'm Philip. I'm going to integrate to your environment.
He just enriches the experience and makes things all the more exciting.
Yowza! Like a champ, like a boss, like a real winner. Agent 33 has nothing on you.
He calls himself Odin.
From the Spanish, Woden, meaning skips lunch on Wednesdays.
But let's segue into this main antagonist real quick, the sentient AI known as Odin. I love this guy.
It's true, I am sentient. Do you wonder how it happened?
Such a cunning and truly evil villain. Ever wonder what his motivations are to cause havoc most foul? He discovered the internet and now wants to steal your memes.
Cat pictures, hashtags, memes. Yes, I saw it all.
Like, I personally can't blame him. There's always that rite of passage. You find the internet for the first time and then you just want to steal all the memes. We just need more dumb games like this, okay?
OMG, such robots must bow.
However, I believe that I'm getting too carried away in singing this game's praises, as I do have a couple of issues with the overall package. Primarily that it's so shallow. Not in the mechanical department, I'm of course talking about content, the evil C word. Robo Recall contains 9 levels that can be finished in about 2 hours overall, which may sound fine for what the game sets out to do, but when you consider that these 9 levels take place over just 3 small maps with the objectives swapped out, things start to seem a little bit bare, which for a game that's either £23 or is bundled with £99 controllers might come across as a hard sell. But that said, I think VR games and the term hard sell are a match made in fucking heaven when it comes to pricing. The boss fights are also not too great, as it just involves fighting Odin almost the exact same way 3 times over the course of the game, with very few changes or ramps in difficulty to keep it interesting. I also found it somewhat irritating that there wasn't an optional weapon lock of some sort, so I wouldn't need to be holding the grip button down at all times I was armed, but I primarily blame that on having tiny baby hands that can't wrap around the touch controllers completely, so depending on your experience with touch ergonomics, expect some potential discomfort when playing for extended periods. When running the game on 16GB of DDR3 RAM, RAM, an Intel i5 that wasn't overclocked, and an Nvidia GTX 1080, I was required to change to low graphics settings and ×2 anti-aliasing to get a consistent frame rate. It wasn't a huge deal breaker as the game ran smoothly afterwards and still looked spectacular, but I felt it was worth bringing up. So with all that in mind, is Robo Recall still a good game? Definitely. I don't think I've had as much fun playing in VR like I have with this game, with its great controls, clean presentation, and humorous dialogue. I am of course disappointed that this game is a Rift exclusive, as I'd love Vive owners to have a go too, but this is the glorious PC gaming master race we're talking about, so let's not pretend that's going to keep them at bay. It really begs the question, do I think Robo Recall's design benefits from being a VR game? And for that I'd have to say yes. I feel like a lot of how this game's combat works just wouldn't be as fun or as satisfying on a standard controller. With the level of freedom the game gives you on just how to dispose of robots, the game gives me an immense amount of optimism and hope for the future of VR, and while I don't see it replacing the traditional way we play games or being a mass market product, I'm still glad the tech exists if we can get titles like this. With that, get me on the phone real quick, I need to make some calls to some AAA developers. Yep. Yeah, I'd like VR titles of the following properties: JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, The House of the Dead, Yu-Gi-Oh!, The Unfinished Swan, Voice, Persona 3, and Nintendogs.
I told you to stop fucking calling me.
Oh, for fuck's sake.